So we've got a lot of content to cover today, guys, in the 45-minute session. To start off with, Avery will begin giving us a demonstration of the integration between Benji Pays and Halo, and also some follow-up points on the features available. After that, moving over to Tim and Adam, just to kind of discuss how the integrations work for those guys, and what they've achieved with it as well, with their Halo and Benji Pays instances. And then after that, moving on to some additional follow-up points on best practices with Adam as well. So I suppose to kick things off, guys, without further ado, I will move it over to Avery, who can take the screen and cover a live demonstration.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Okay, I will share my screen and get started. So are you able to see my Halo screen?
Ooh,
That
it's
coming up?
currently marked as I am sh screen sharing at the moment. Let me quickly. That is odd.
I can see it.
Oh, sure. Sean can see it. It's just me. You can proceed.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, I'll just go through a quick demo of some of the integration points we have with Halo and a quick flow of how it all works. So right in my Halo environment here, I'm just going to start by creating a new invoice. And when an invoice is created in Halo, it could be a recurring invoice or a one-off invoice. They all kind of work in the same way. So I'm just going to create a one-off invoice here. I'll choose an item and select a date. And one of the things I can do when I am creating an invoice in Halo with the Halo and Benji Pays integration is I could choose a payment term right when I'm creating the invoice, which I can then dictate whether the invoice is auto paid or not. Just a cool little tidbit there. Um, okay, so I'm just going to create this invoice. And as soon as I save this invoice, number 2134, we'll see that that invoice is now everywhere. It's in our accounting system. Here's invoice 2134 right in QuickBooks. And if we hop into Benji Pays, we'll see invoice 2134 right here. And so because that invoice is instantly in all of our systems, it makes the integration really nice and easy to use. So now I've hopped over to the Halo customer portal where where your customers can actually log in. And we'll take a look at a few integration points here. So first of all, if I go to my invoices right in Halo, I can see this is invoice 2134 that was just created. So this is one place that I could pay it as the customer. Another thing I could do is what are the integrations with that Benji Pays has with Halo is single sign-on. So using this link, this is opening up the Benji Pays customer portal, and I'm just using Tim's logo from Fireside here in
That's not his
the form of
invoice,
the
is
intro.
it?
No, no, but here's invoice 2134 right here. Now, if we just go back into the Halo portal again, another thing we can do is we can actually put an iframe of the Benji Pays customer portal right here in the Halo portal. So this is again, here's invoice 2134. This is the same thing, but see this one is right through Benji Pays. This one is visible right through the Halo portal. So we don't even have to send the customer somewhere else. They can see everything right here. And one other thing I do want to show you is I can actually even email this invoice right from Halo or Benji Pays or anywhere, and we're gonna have payment links all over the place, and they're all gonna point to the same invoice. So I should get an email here right away coming from Halo, and so this again, this invoice is coming right from Halo. I have a pay this invoice, and even right within my invoice PDF, I have a pay. So there's no reason the customer shouldn't find a way to pay this invoice. So if I click on any of these pay invoice buttons, they're all going to take me to the same place. This is an actual payment page where we can pay the invoice. Uh, Now, if the customer has any saved payment methods on file, they'll be able to use those, credit card or bank account. Let's just pay this with a credit card on file. Please process my payment. So one of the nice features that Benji Pays provides is credit card surcharging. If you want to surcharge for accepting credit cards from your customers, Benji Pays can accommodate that. Benji Pays will calculate the surcharge, and the customer will accept that to continue. Surcharging will also apply through auto processing if it is enabled. So this customer just paid an invoice. A few things are going to happen right away. First of all, they're going to get a receipt sent to them. Oops, this is the wrong email. This is the receipt. So the receipt, this is coming right from Benji Pays, and when Benji Pays sends any emails, they'll come from your MSP's email address with DKIM set up and everything, so it'll stay out of spam. It'll have the actual Halo PDF attached to it right here. That's what this is. And then if we just go, we'll just follow this payment along. So as soon as the payment was made, if we have a look in QuickBooks, we'll see it's the invoice is being paid. So Benji Pays has posted that payment to QuickBooks. If we look at the payment itself, and by the way, this works with QuickBooks or Xero, QuickBooks Online or desktop and Xero. So if we have a look at the payment right here in QuickBooks, we'll see that Benji Pays has posted all the details from the financial transaction right to the memo field. This is really nice for the bookkeepers and the accountants. They have everything right in their tool where they need to find it. Um, and also in this case, because there was a surcharge applied for this transaction, Benji Pays has done the bookkeeping for that as well, has recorded that surcharge with a journal entry right into QuickBooks. Now, if we go back into Halo, so here's invoice 2134. I'm just going to refresh my screen, and this is the MSP side of Halo. This is not the customer side. But this will show as paid in the customer side as well. Just want to show you that this is showing this invoice fully paid here as well. So everything
Wow.
connects really quickly and smoothly, and it's all you don't have to go to multiple places. It doesn't matter which place the customer paid that from. I'll just show you now quickly if we just go back into, oh, it kicked me out because I timed out. Let me just log back into the portal really quick here. But that invoice is also going to be showing as paid right in Halo now as well. So we'll just get logged in really quick and go into my invoices, and we can see this one's paid. This was 2134
Fantastic.
that we just paid. So really quick. One other quick thing that I'll just walk through really quick that Benji Pays can help with, Invoice Rover. So this is an automated reminder system, emailing system that can do a bunch of things. But there's three main rules. New invoice notifications. So when new invoices are created in Halo, Benji Pays can automatically send a notification to the customer saying, you have a new invoice. Account summary reminders. These are statements that can be set out on any day or days of the month, a list of any unpaid invoices sent right to the customers. And then, of course, invoice due reminders. So this is a very powerful tool that can be set up to send notifications for coming due or overdue invoices. A coming due reminder would be like for your monthly auto pay invoices that you have with your customers, you might want to send them a reminder 2 or 3 days before it's due, just to make sure they've got funds available. They know that that invoice is going to be auto processed. And then overdue, these reminders can be set up with multiple rule periods. So what this means is if the invoice is unpaid 3 days after the due date, Benji Pays will send a reminder. If it's still unpaid 5 days, another reminder. And you could add as many rule periods here as you like. And with these reminders, you can actually use a different email template for each one. So you can have escalating language automatically as the invoice becomes farther overdue. And really cool, these rules are super configurable. So they can be set up for all customers or a subset of customers. And then they can even be set up on things like if auto pay is enabled or not. So yeah, there's a quick walkthrough of a bunch of the basic features and the integrations with between Halo and Benji Pays.
Yeah, it's just fantastic to see as well the API connection. It's instantaneous. It updates in three places, which is really, really valuable as well. I can see we have a question in the
Yeah.
Q&A section, actually. So there's Amit asking the question saying, right now we create an invoice from Halo and it goes to QuickBooks Online and then to Benji. Should we be eliminating the send from QuickBooks Online? Ideally, it should be sent from Halo and that's it. Not sure how to send from not how not to send from QuickBooks Online, and they want to avoid it being sent twice, once from Halo and then from QuickBooks. So they want to disable the sending from QuickBooks Online feature. Um, I personally don't work with QuickBooks Online, or I don't, work for QuickBooks Online. Do you guys have an inkling on how to kind of remove that feature, opening up to across the board, as we have MSPs in the group as well?
I'll
Yeah.
jump in here, Joe, or
Yeah, sure.
if you want to, you're
Yeah,
the
please, Adam, please. Yeah.
yeah, we have the exact same setup. We have the Halo QBO connection and Benji Pays, and we we don't send any invoices out of QuickBooks. So I don't know the exact configuration, but you've probably got a sort of an auto send when the invoice is created in there. That can all be turned off, and so we still send ours, as you say, through Halo because we've done all the customizations. If they're buying hardware, it shows a serial number or other things like that. So you want to keep all that in Halo to get the invoice looking exactly how you want it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll jump in there on that one as well. And you guys hear me? I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just find them.
Perfect. So yeah, we do the same thing. We send straight from Halo. I like the customizability of Halo's invoice template.
Oh, I think you might have cut out for me there, Tim.
Yeah, it looks like Tim froze there.
We lost Tim.
Just saying, Halo is a great template. I think.
There we go.
There you
We
go.
got you
Back,
back,
Tim.
Tim.
I'm back. Okay, cool. Sorry, guys. But yeah, Halo's got great invoice templates and the ability to kind of structure what data is shown there. So we send there in QBO. You just have to go in and in the settings inside of QBO, there's a spot to turn off invoice send. So you got to do some settings diving there, turn that off, start sending out of Halo, and you're golden.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Tim. Straight answer. And Adam as well for chiming in too. There's another question from an anonymous attendee, which is a very spooky one. Are there other portals where payments are processed, reconciliation is done? Trying to confirm how many portals they'll need to access to do all their ACH and CC processing, which might be quite a good one for Avery, without putting you on the spot.
Yeah, sure. So I showed a whole bunch of portals there, but they're all just options. You can just use one. It just depends how you want to have yours set up. So it'd be quite common for you just to use the Halo portal and have your customers access everything right through that login. Or there are some MSPs that don't use the Halo portal and they use the Benji Pays customer portal, which is fully featured as well for paying invoices. So although you have all those options available, there's no necessity to use all of them. You could do everything through one place.
I'll add and chime in there. So I think one of the questions being asked there is the actual processing. So we're in Canada. I know a lot of people here in the US, but we use a company called HaloPSA, which is only for our credit card processing. And we use a company called Bambora for basically our equivalent of ACH in Canada. And we actually use Stripe for our US customers to collect money in US dollars. So it's amazing to me how configurable it is that we can, the US customers only see Stripe US payment gateways. So that's all behind the scenes that you kind of configure, and you'll still need to go into those to get your reconciliation done in your bank accounts and make sure everything's getting paid, but you've got that flexibility to send customers to whatever kind of payment gateway best suits your needs.
Wonderful. Thank you for that as well.
Thanks. I probably didn't answer that one properly. Thanks for that, Adam.
No worries.
Wonderful. And we had a question in the group chat as well from I believe it's Amit, just asking for any Halo templates they're using as inspiration as well, if we wanted to send them across via email or if anyone wants to send them across to Amit. I've also shared my email in the group chat as well, guys. If anyone wants some example Halo templates, PDF templates we'd use just for inspiration, feel free to send me an email from that as well. We also had a question from Daniel asking if we can share the webinar recording as well. But yes, we can. We send it across to everyone following the session. And anonymous attendee said thank you as well for the response to the answer. And then one other question before I move on to some more content, guys, from Pam, who has several clients who have recurring invoices every first of the month where we process their credit card. How would we use Benji Pay to process their monthly payments or continue to use QuickBooks Online, which might be a good one for the Benji Pay team.
Yeah, for sure. So you wouldn't use QuickBooks payments anymore. QuickBooks would be still where your invoices live when they're created from Halo and synced to QuickBooks, but Benji Pays would take care of the processing on that side. So it'd be a different processor.
Wonderful.
And just to add to that, because we didn't explicitly mention it, all of that would be automated. So if you have your recurring invoices automated in Halo or wherever that is, then Benji Pays will automatically process those payments on the due date based on the rules that you have set up.
And that's fantastic. You said that as well, Adam, because that kind of moves us or segues us into just covering the features available for the integration too. Obviously with Benji Pays and Halo. Or does Avery want to go through the feature rundown actually, as you did the demonstration?
Yeah, happy to just recap what we went through. So yeah, some things to keep in mind is Benji Pays has SSO with Halo, which means that it makes it just easy for your customers to access everything through one login. They don't have to remember a bunch of different passwords or anything. Also on that note, the Benji Pays customer portal does use passwordless login with where the customer can either use SSO with Microsoft or Google, or they can actually just use their email address and get a 6-digit code sent to them. And automatically have payment buttons. So we looked at that, just having all these different touch points where your customer can easily pay their invoice makes it just smoother and easier. They don't have to ask you questions about how do I pay this or anything. The more places you can offer them that functionality, the easier it is for them to pay. Have your Halo invoice PDF included. So that's one of the integrations Benji Pays has with Halo, is to pull that PDF, because like we were just talking about, the PDF that comes from Halo is really configurable and you can make it look really nice. It's a nice one to include. Custom domain. So the Benji Pays customer portal, you can use your own custom domain for that, so that it looks really professional and it's in your name. We showed the embed your Benji Pays customer portal with the iframe right in Halo. So that's just another integration there. And automate your payments is, yeah, Adam was just touching on that a moment ago about Benji Pays has I didn't go into it explicitly, but a really strong auto processing engine that can automatically process invoices when they're due based on a rule set that you configure. And then we did look at Invoice Rover with the automated follow-ups, and there's some really cool insights that our panelists are going to share about how they've taken advantage of these features with their MSPs.
Wonderful. And you mentioned
Thanks.
the invoice rover as well. Then it's quite a nice little name. So is it, just to kind of cover that in a bit more detail? I'm intrigued by the invoice rover. I guess the setup and stuff. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, so Invoice Rover was the last tool that I was going through in the demo. Is it's the automated emailing system that can send new invoice notifications when new invoices are created. It can send statements on any day or days of the month to all of your customers, and also the coming due and the overdue reminders that are super granular can be set up for certain customers or certain invoice terms, or we try to build everything in a way that it's easy to use, but it's also very configurable if you have special requirements, even for different customer sets or even a single customer. I know some MSPs, you might have a very special customer that you have to have a very special reminder rules just for them. So you can do that quite easily with Invoice Rover.
Yeah, if I can chime in there too with Invoice Rover, one of the nice things is you can exclude individual companies from your reminders as well. I've got one customer who we've got a net 45 agreement with that we don't have with anybody else. And so we exclude them from the 15 days and 30 days emails because we know they're going to take 45, so we don't want to annoy them. And it's really easy to just exclude that one customer.
Okay.
Awesome.
Wonderful. And that's a nice run through the Benji Pays item. So now we're just going to go for a slight grilling of Tim and Adam as the two MSPs in the group. Just some questions around Benji Pays and Halo, what's worked and what hasn't. So I guess a question which might be a bit of a deep dive on. Can you share, well, starting off with Adam to begin with, can you share any kind of, or share how cash flow issues have impacted your business growth, either in your own journey or among your peers, if you've heard any stories out there?
Yeah, happy to, Joe. A quick backstory, and I'll keep it really short, but we 18 months ago went through a merger. And so prior to that, I was a smaller MSP, and we merged with two others at the same time and moved from Autotask to Halo and Benji Pays, merging three companies. There was a lot going on. And cash flow was critical then because we were spending a ton of money on the merger. And so, right from day one, we actually had clients paying early. When we sent invoices out on September 30th in 2023, we already had payments coming in. And I was like, wow, this is amazing, because I've been terrified that, are these customers going to pay us? if you think in the IT security world, I've got this email from a new domain that I'm not really used to, and they're telling me to go enter my payment information somewhere. Our emails and our communication had all the red flags of phishing and being fraudulent. And so we did a lot of work to call the customers and talk to them. And on that note, I guess it's all about expectations, because what I've seen through this process is the three companies had three very different, I think, cash flow processes. We had the full spectrum. On my end, we had some very tight AR, a lot of manual work. Benji Pays did a lot of automation for us, but we had really tight, payment deadlines. And at the other end, we were here. And those customers who were over here, we're still trying to drag them over. Like, so we're not as good as we used to be when I was a separate company, but it's customers getting ingrained in their behavior, and it's really tough to change. So the number one thing is, when you sign that agreement with the customer, highlight it, underline it. Here's my payment terms. We expect this, and then enforce it. Keep an eye on your numbers. We got away from looking at our numbers in the fall, and our AR just climbed. We combine that with the Canada Post strike, because we have some customers who pay checks still. We kind of let that slip, and it hurt us from cash flow perspective. So, the two things there are set your expectations with your customers, and don't let it slip, because as soon as you give them room, they're going to push. It's no different than those customers that you let them text you for IT support instead of forcing them to email or call the main number, right? If you let them get away with bad behavior, they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah, and cash flow is so important as well. And a question for Tim in relation to that, in your experience, Tim, why is maintaining a healthy cash flow so critical for your MSP to function?
I mean, we're in a lot of ways managed service providers. Like, we're resellers. We're a funnel for a lot of products for our customers, right? So if my customers aren't paying me, I can't pay down the chain. And so if our cash flow isn't flowing accurately, and all of a sudden my customer's not paying me for BCDR, and then I have to decide who I'm paying, and all of a sudden I can't pay my BCDR provider, and they start threatening me to be cut off. Now, that affects the services that we're actually able to provide up the chain. Now, nobody wants to be in that position where, services you're promising your customer you can't deliver because they're being suspended due to, mismanaged AR, due to late payments and all of these things, right? So that's vital, just to make sure that what you promise can continue to be delivered. And then just paying employees and paying yourself, keeping everything on top of, as soon as you, it's only been in the last couple of years, right, where I've graduated from a single man shop to having a few employees, and the weight of responsibility of, at the end of the day, the rent of my technicians is my responsibility now, because I need to make sure that I can pay their payroll. And so all of this stuff, and if we're not collecting on the invoices we're sending, I can't do that.
Yeah. And you're managing people's livelihoods at the end. It is a very human industry in that respect, whether or not it seems that way to the people that are purchasing, I guess, services from you, but it is incredibly human, and you're managing people's livelihoods. And I guess a question for Adam around kind of, I guess, is there any kind of common AR challenges you've encountered in your business, or common challenges you've seen of other people using, I guess, our softwares, and just challenges they've experienced that they've tried to push past?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges, and I thought I saw it on a preview of a slide somewhere, so I hope I'm not ruining someone's surprise, but was the word trust. We've seen some specific examples of, we've lost some trust the customer, and you get that email, so and so removed their payment method from Benji Pays. Oh crap! What did I do? Right? Sometimes it's followed up by, they added one. Okay, they were just changing it. But when they removed it completely, that's like the negative rating. And our trust was issues on a couple of these were based around some invoice mistakes, some integrations. I said we merged three companies, we moved to Halo, and all this stuff going on. There's a lot of things going on, different business processes, different expectations, and some wrong invoices went out, and sometimes a couple of charges went through incorrectly. Really easy to reverse, but you still, especially on the bank account. That one's tough. The credit card, people feel more protected, but their bank account is pretty sacred, and so it's
Yeah.
easy to lose trust, and you want the customers to trust you, and then they'll let you pay on time, because they're, as soon as they think, hey, if they ever have to challenge an invoice, um, that's always tough. So on the flip side of that, or a related note, if you're an MSP that hasn't got your customers entirely in sort of a fully managed type scenario where they get a predictable bill every month, they're going to be a lot more hesitant to automatically pay an invoice when it comes as a random amount. So
Yeah.
what we've found is customers who are sort of fully managed, yeah, we'll pay the bill. We know what to expect. We're happy. So what we actually do, and even customers who have projects, is our first of the month bill is always due the first of the month. That's billed up front. That's kind of the gold standard. Any extra things that happen during the month, hardware, that kind of stuff, we give customers 30 days on that. Gives them time to review, confirm to the quote, whatever it might be. And one of my big things, though, that we did to improve our own cash flow is we used to wait until the end of the month and bundle everything up and invoice the customer. I've just potentially added an extra 30 days. If I sold them a couple of computers on the 2nd of the month, and I don't bill to the 30th or the 31st, and they get another 30 days, they've essentially had 60 days of that hardware. So we've accelerated our billing process on the one-offs on the hardware, and we'll bill the same day it ships, the same way that our distributors invoice us, right? We get an invoice from Cynix or Ingram Micro when hardware ships. So we turn around and bill our customers a lot quicker, and it brings that cash in quicker. So we were getting in trouble if you've got some large hardware orders. If you don't bill your customers fast enough, that's going to kill your cash flow, because you don't have the margins that you do necessarily, like you do on your labor and your managed services.
Yeah, and that trust point is very important as well. Just kind of maintaining trust in your customers, putting their services in your hands, and being able to give them further services or increase their services does require trust, which is a very important point there as well, Adam. So I've got a question for both of you to answer, one at a time. Obviously, I will start with Tim. If there's one thing you could tell every MSP to change about the AR process, what would it be? That's a very difficult one, so I can give you a second.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is don't treat yourself as a bank. Don't that's very much, Adam just kind of touched on this with timing of when you send invoices, but don't carry debt for your customers, right? Like if if they're going to order something from you, they got to be ready to pay for it, and make them pay for it. We shift when it comes to one-off, like especially hardware orders. We're a little bit different from Adam. I require prepayment. So when we sell hardware, every quote email, all of that communicates that invoice payment is required on time of signing. So when you accept the quote, the next step is you get an invoice, and I don't even put a PO into my distributor until that invoice is paid. I'm not going to carry that risk, and my customers know it. And
Yeah.
it's Adam said that communication is huge, but you're not a bank, and I think that was that realization earlier in my business was key to learning to fix my AR.
Interesting. And the same, that's a very good point as well, not treating yourself as a bank. I quite like that as a phrase. I don't know whether I've heard that before, but it sounds like a phrase that has some resonance to it. And over to Adam as well. Apologies, he had a very strong phrase there. What would be the one thing you would tell every MSP to change about their AR process in your experience? What would it be?
If you're not running your AR numbers and tracking them, weekly, daily, whatever it is, start doing that. Because it's so easy for it to get away from you. And then you hit the panic when you go, crap, I can't run payroll because I don't have cash. And I think we've
Yeah.
all been there. It doesn't matter what kind of a entrepreneur you are. You've been where you're not paying someone, you're scrambling to find the cash, you're borrowing money from yourself. That's not a great place to be in.
Yeah.
So track it like anything else you would track, right? If you want to improve it, you got to measure it. So track your AR. Tim's going to show you the gold standard in tracking that shortly.
Yeah, this is what I was getting onto next. That's a very good point as well. Tracking and reporting is integral to it. To stay ahead of things before they get ahead of you is very important there, Adam. But yeah, and then moving over to the next slide as well. Just double checking you guys can still see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fantastic. So Tim's decided to provide us a very nice a group of reports here that he's actually pulled out of HaloPSA into Power BI, which is no small feat as well. And it also looks very attractive. So if Tim, if you'd like to just have a few points to discuss on these and how I guess the integration has helped your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of background for us. We transitioned from Autotask to Halo in 2023. We made that move over the summer. And it was incredible for the business, transformative. Benji Pays has just been phenomenal. And so, but even then, we kind of kept our AR processes the same. We've always billed ahead. We would send invoices at the end of the month, due for the first for that next one. So customers would see the invoice for a couple of days before they were due, before we expected them to pay. And so in this graphic, what you're looking at here is days past due for payments. And so you can see this is looking back to the start of my fiscal year, so July 2024. You can see we're averaging like 16, 17 days past due for those invoices. And this is also a snapshot of just recurring invoices. I'm not capturing our projects or one-off labor invoices. These are just our monthly recurring invoices in this report. November of this last fall, November 2024, we made a drastic shift. I was looking at how we get invoiced by some of our vendors, what works for us. One of the philosophies I've always had is if I like to work with a vendor in a certain way, there's a good chance my customers are going to want to work with me in that way. So I always like it when I see an invoice for a few days before the vendor expects money for it. And so we now send our recurring invoices 15 days before the next month. So the invoices for the month of April were sent on March 17th. They're still due April 1st. AutoPay processes April 1st, but we've got that 15-day pre-review time. And I actually find a lot of our customers who haven't adopted AutoPay wind up paying within those 15 days before due. So, and that's actually what winds up driving these averages down. It's not that they're paying the day of or 2 days after we send the invoice, but I've given our customers more time to see the invoice before they, to kind of put it in queue, get ready to action it. And so then the result of that, as everybody's gotten used to it, is now January, February, we're down into 4 and 3 days average days past due.
That is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah. And one of the things that I did with this chart, there's a subnote there so I'm not being accused of skewed numbers. Unpaid invoices are counted to today's date. So when I ran this chart, any invoices that were open, I'm tracking as still unpaid, or as if they were paid that day, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm still kind of capturing them into that report. Aggregate, if we were to look July 1st to October 31st, before we made the change, we're overall average 13.7 days past due to pay. Since November 1st to the end of February, we're at 6.5 overall average. So just that change in invoice timing, we didn't even it wasn't even an extra push in AutoPay, just sheer invoice timing drove those numbers down for us.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. And that kind of speaks to your quote earlier about not treating yourself as a bank, which is very important. It's great work and good work with the Power BI reports out of Halo as well. I've already mentioned that, but it's quite impressive.
It was fun.
So now we're just going to move over to a few lessons learned with Adam from Benji Pays this time, and then a couple of other points on best practices, and then after that moving over to some Q&A, as we've had a few questions that have arisen in the time that we've been speaking. So passing the baton over to Adam.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this. It's really just to recap some of the things that we've already heard here. I love this story from Adam. We hear this a lot. Trust is important. That payment, when someone turns off AutoPay, that should be a call, right? It's super important. Something's not going right there. But also, if they're unwilling to, you got to think about your relationship with this customer. So it's a leading indicator of their trust in you, as their willingness to let you just process that payment on your terms. Something that comes up a lot, large vendors or government agencies, we get asked about this. There's policies, procedures, multiple sign-in, or just like charities where they can't pay you without writing a check. So there's going to be some folks that cannot be on auto pay, can't save their payment details. Just have good communication, have good processes on to stay on top of that. Someone's job should really be to own any outstanding invoices after, like, one day after your payments run. They should be reviewing anything that's failed or has been processed because they're not on auto pay. Talked about hardware orders. Definitely keep an eye on those. Have strong policies in place, and use the HaloPSA recurring invoice scheduler. Automate everything you can, right? So if you can automate those recurring monthly invoices, do that, and then let a system like Benji Pays take over and process those payments, and a system like Invoice Rover automate those reminders. You should be focusing, like, don't spend time on the happy path, is what I always say. Like, spend as little time on what works and focus on the things that aren't, so you can either fix them or eliminate them from your business, right? And I know it's hard to do. I think everyone on this panel has been there in a business at one time where you're just like, you're afraid to like say no or tell the customer how to pay you because you're worried they're going to go somewhere else. I totally get it. And setting those policies clearly and in a clear fashion and communicating them early is really important. It actually help them build trust in you as a service provider.
Absolutely. And it is hard to turn away business at the end of the day, isn't it? But sometimes if it's not right, it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, it definitely is hard. We've all been there. And we'll share these slides, but use the tech, recurring invoice automated, create them early. I love this story from Tim. It totally makes sense. They know this invoice is coming. There's a contract. Get it out there early. You don't have to process it early. Make sure whatever method you're sending it has a payment button so they can pay it early if they want. It's totally their prerogative, right? Get paid upfront for hardware orders where it makes sense. Make it easy to get paid just in general. And we already talked, set things clearly, communicate clearly what your payment terms are.
Can I jump in and add one more there, Adam?
For sure.
Anyone's talked about just on that hardware orders is get credit with your vendors. We have 30 days with our hardware distributors. If you're like Tim, you're getting paid up front. You're ahead of the game, right? So we do deposits on larger orders, but we had one recently, quite a large deal. We're getting paid. We place the order. We don't get invoiced by the vendor until the stuff ships. Sometimes we're getting paid 60 days before we get invoiced and have to pay. So that's a good piece as well. You may have to switch off of paying your vendors by credit card because they don't want to eat the points. But in the long run, that's better for your business to get the credit and pay via bank transfer.
Absolutely, that's awesome. And this we talked about. Get new clients in auto pay, any legacy clients, work on transitioning them where possible. And don't be afraid of that conversation, right? Like it can be a healthy conversation. They're running businesses too. They understand where you're at. So automate your follow-up, use escalating language. And some of our MSPs go as far as like, email 1 is like a very friendly reminder. Email 4 is like, you need to pay us or services will start to be suspended. It really depends on your business. If you've got a flexible system, you should be able to craft that any way you want. We mentioned the happy path, like get that on autopilot, deal with the outliers, get a self-serve portal. You want to reduce what I often refer to as like AR support requests. Like you got enough support requests in your life every day, right? You don't want more like, where is that invoice? What is this charge on my credit card? Just give them the ability to go in and see this stuff so they don't have to call you. And make it easy for them to get into that, right? You don't want to be managing passwords, things like that. Just make it really easy. We didn't talk about this, but get to know your late payers, right? Like there's a reason they pay you late all the time. It might be fine. You just like, okay, well, I know this person always pays me on day 5. Maybe I'm okay with that. If it's day 7 now, I've got an issue, right? Maybe there's a process change, or maybe there's a conversation that you can have there, or something you can change either through notifications or whatever it is to get that taken care of earlier. And like the number one thing, and actually Adam's story about the postal strike that we had here, if you start to see, when you log into Benji Pays, we highlight any cards with problems. So basically, this card has been flagged as not going to work anymore, right? And they're in red and they're right in front of you. And ideally, whatever system you're using has something like this. That is where on day 2 of the month, someone should be focusing, clearing all of those things, following up with those customers, getting new payment details. What I often see is those get ignored because we're all busy. And then those go into month 2, month 3, month 8. And then it's like, why hasn't this person paid us? And the information's there. So have someone's job be on the 2nd of the month, 3rd of the month to go in and go through those and figure out what's going on. And just have clear KPIs, like the numbers Tim has there, super helpful to track your progress and see if the changes you make are working. So, and we always say this too. So I'm glad Tim said, but like, you're not a bank. Don't act like a bank.
That's where I've heard it before, isn't it?
Yeah. You're not a bank. And the problem is often if you're acting like a bank, you're probably borrowing from yours at the same time. So you're getting hit twice, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Adam.
No problem.
And then following on as well, because we have a couple minutes left for the scheduled time slot, we have 3 questions that have been answered in the Q&A area that we'll cover, and then probably look to kind of finish things off as we'll run a little bit over time. So we had a question from anonymous attendee. I think it was a follow-on in relation to the multiple portals we had for Benji Pays, for Halo, and for QuickBooks. He's asking whether we would get separate bills for Halo, Benji, and QuickBooks for these outlying portals. I assume the bills we're generating from invoices. Sorry,
Yeah,
I just direct that a question out of there.
I think the question is like, who are they paying for these services? So obviously you're paying Halo for that software, that SaaS product, paying Benji Pays for that product. The way Benji Pays works is that you can choose your merchant account provider. So what that means is you are going to have a separate withdrawal from your account for those fees every month. However, it also gives you the flexibility as a business owner to go, you know what? I think I can save some money over here. Like if I switch from here to here while still using Benji Pays. So we add a ton of flexibility. And so we know that not everybody wants that. And we're working on a solution to that right now. But for now, yes, you would have a bill from Halo, a bill from Benji Pays, and your credit card fees you're going to pay. So those are going to come out as well.
And then just moving over to a question from Sophie. Is there a Benji Pays feature coming out soon that will allow us to exclude specific invoices from the email rover?
Yeah, it's a great one. I think we have feedback.benjipays.com. Feel free to go there. You'll find a whole bunch of feature requests. I'm pretty sure that one's on there. It's one that I would like for sure. Benji Pays uses Benji Pays. So this is something that comes up sometimes. We want to just flag that one email. You can do it in a way right now. You can use invoice terms to exclude emails from reminders. So you could say, create a new invoice term called no reminders or whatever it is, and then tell invoice rover to skip over those. But I think the question is yeah, go ahead.
So I was just going to add to that, or you can use the memo field on the invoice. If there's a specific invoice you don't want to send out, and Sophie, if you wanted to send us an email and support, we'll be happy to help you with this. But you could just add a word like skip to that specific invoice, and then add that word skip to your reminder rule, and it won't send it on that specific invoice.
Yeah, good point. That's even better.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Awesome. And then a final question from James, and Sophie said thank you for that as well. They have a customer, or James has a customer from QuickBooks that was not transferred to zero, just the amount. We switched to Halo, added Benji Pays, and the old invoice amount shows up in Benji Pays, but not the PDF. How do we add the PDF of the invoice to the customer portal?
Yeah, so I think, go ahead, Avery.
Yeah, so I'm guessing if I'm just guessing maybe that invoice doesn't exist in Halo. So it could be that the invoice is in your accounting system, but not in Halo, and therefore Benji Pays can't pull a PDF. There is a setting in your Halo integration in Benji Pays that you can use that's called fallback to accounting PDF. So you could, if there's not a Halo PDF that corresponds with that invoice, Benji Pays portal can present the QuickBooks or Xero, the PDF instead, if you enable that setting. So I think that's what you're asking there.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for that. And there is also ways of attaching kind of PDFs into Halo portals as well, if need be, whether you're kind of adding it to your documentation area or something like that. Um, Wonderful. And that takes us a couple of minutes over. But just to start kind of wrapping things up, we have a demo link for booking in a demonstration with Benji Pays as well. If you guys do want to click on that link, well, not click on the link, but scan the link. I like the little dinosaur we have in the QR code there as well, and also a link to their website too. And with Halo, this webinar itself will be posted onto our YouTube channel at HaloPSA. I'm happy to send across a mailer following the session once it's been edited completely to everyone as well, just so you have access to that link as well. But otherwise, guys, I really appreciate everyone joining today. To Avery and Adam from Benji Pays, to Tim from Fireside and Adam from Campfire, thank you so much for joining, guys. It's been a pleasure. And on to the next one. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much,
Thanks for
guys.
moderating, Joe. It's great.
Thank you as well. Thank you so much, guys.